Hey, revolutionaries, I'm excited to bring you this week's episode with Luis Contreras, where we're talking augmented reality and his new app that he's developing, UON. Yes, UON. UON? UON. Hey, is anybody on? UON. I think that's where the genesis of the name comes from, UON. And I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this episode because, if you remember like maybe 10 years ago when Pokemon Go came out, and people were running around their neighborhoods chasing after invisible items, but things they saw through their phone through this augmented reality concept. And it was all the rage, and this was right when Snapchat came out, I believe, or it was sort of indexing on people's radar higher at that point. And people thought, man, AR, it's the next big thing, this is going to go crazy. And then it's just sort of died, sort of disappeared, kind of. And really people weren't doing much with it. People were just using like goofy filters on Snapchat, and then I think they came to Facebook and whatever. It just didn't turn out as big a deal for whatever reason back then. But I think it's only until now, until what Luis is doing, in my opinion. I think he's really stumbled upon a really interesting use case and really kind of throwing out a new spin on social media and how social media can be used. And just to give you a quick example, because I really want you to listen to this episode and understand the possibilities here. And so, imagine that if you look through your phone, if you're able to see places just, through the image of where people have been, or the people that you see in the image, see through your phone camera, if you can learn information about them. So here's some examples. So let's say you're at you're going to a sports stadium, and you bought your tickets, but the sports stadium has a relationship and an app that you can look through. And when you're trying to find your seat, you just hold your phone out and you just look towards the area where your seat is, and bang, there's an arrow just showing you, hey, your seat's right here. And it could be, still 50 yards away or whatever if you're in a big stadium, but you're like, aha, the seats are over here. I get it. I see where I'm going. That's a real neat use case. Let's say there's an influencer out there that is a travel blogger, and he traveled to a city that you're interested in going to, and he dropped pins along the way at all the favorite attractions and the things he recommends, and the bar he went to, and the cool iconic the secret entranceway into the iconic thing that you wanted to go see in that city, and he marks it for you. And all you have to do is, when you're there, you look through your phone, you turn the app on, and you can see like, aha, my favorite person is telling me all the secret places to check out over here, and they're right here, and you can navigate right to them. Or let's say you're at a amusement park, and you're there with your kids, and you want to track where your kids are going, and you can just look through your phone at the scene before you and say like, oh, Jenny, she's right over there. I thought I lost her, but she's right there. I can see there's a little arrow pointing to her. Or let's say you're in a business context, and this is super interesting. So you're at a conference, and many conferences have apps that they download now, but now you can integrate AR with it, where hey, you go to a networking event, and you can look through your phone, you see the crowd, and immediately there's bubbles above people's heads showing, hey, this person's a salesperson, this person's an engineer, here's the operations manager, here's the customer service guy. It's like, oh, I need to talk to all of those people, or that specific niche of person that I'm interested in. I need to talk to all the technical engineers in the room, and immediately they're identified in the scene. And of course, people have a personal choice whether to turn the app on or off for themselves, whether to share that information. So it's under everybody's control. It's really interesting concept. So I know I'm taking a little extra time to explain it here before we get there, but super cool. Make sure you listen to the episode. I'm super excited for what Luis is doing. But before we get there, there's always a little something before we get there. I wanted to mention, if you haven't checked it out yet, and if you listened to last episode, this new sponsorship that I have in collaboration with Magic Mind. So have you tried Magic Mind yet? Yes, I had some this morning, and that's why I feel like I'm just pumped to get this intro recorded and get the podcast out to you. Yeah, remember that it's full of matcha, which helps boost your energy because it's got some caffeine in there, but it's also got a bunch of antioxidants and L-theanine that gives you a real smooth, sort of feeling about the energy, so it doesn't give you that real harsh buzz that straight caffeine does. It's got adaptogens in there, and that helps you keep less stressed throughout the day. It's got some mushrooms and some other sort of organic things in there that work on your inflammation, like turmeric, for example. And it's got no nootropics in there, which are for your brain, essentially, to keep you focused, and keep you more sort of. It's an interesting feel. It sort of gives you like a compelling feel to get things done. That's how I describe it. I'm not sure why, but it feels like you're just more productive. And that's got some things for immunity in there, which of course is important coming into the fall here. You got to watch out, keep your vitamin C and vitamin D and echinacea rolling along here for the fall cold and flu season. And look, it's really the only shot I've found that's got these four categories integrated into it, and it's a small volume of liquid, and it just works. So if you're interested, I have a discount code that you can go to magicmind.com/Jim Cirillo, JimCirillo, and get $20 off your first order. And I suggest you order the recurring way they do it, send it out to you like every month. I think they send you a pack of 15 bottles. It's cheaper that way, and if you really want to try it, it's a better deal to begin with. And of course, you can always turn off the subscription. It's a little pricey if you just buy one because of the shipping charges and all these other things they got in there. But you do get the $20 off, and I swear to God, it's worth it if you try it, because somehow it does just make you more productive. You just notice getting a few more things checked off your to-do list per day. I noticed it immediately when I first tried it, and I thought, that's interesting. Maybe it's a placebo effect or whatever, whatever I perceived it might be. But it really isn't. And if you do it sort of back-to-back days, you get sort of this cascading effect that it just keeps you a little more focused for whatever reason. It's hard to describe, and it just feels like when you get like a little pause during your day, you're like, okay, what else can I do? What else did I have on my list? It just sort of keeps you moving, gives you a little more impetus. So try it out. And if you want to, share your feedback with me, either on the Facebook page, or you can send me an email at JimJim@JimJim'sReinventionRevolution.com. Check it out. If you can't find the link, or you want an easier way to find all the links for the show, you can go to Linktree/JimJim99. You can buy me a coffee there. You can also find the discount link, $20 off for Magic Mind there, and links for the latest episode and all that kind of good stuff. So linktree.com/JimJim99, or go to magicmind.com/Jim Cirillo. Okay, enough of the promo sponsorship stuff. Let's get to the episode with Luis right now.
Welcome to JimJim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, the show that explores reinvention in the digital age as it relates to career, creativity, and technology. Stay tuned for interviews with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives that have reimagined success and are making a pivot. If you'd like to listen to the entire back catalog, visit JimJim'sReinventionRevolution.com for instant access. And now, here's your host, JimJim.
Hey everybody, hey, this is JimJim. Welcome to episode 109 of JimJim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. I'm talking today with Luis Contreras, and we're talking augmented reality and dating, among other things. So Luis, welcome to the Reinvention Revolution.
Jim, thank you for having me, man. Pleasure to be on.
Well, thanks for getting up early. I know you're out on the West Coast, and one of the interesting things about you is that you're, kind of newer to being a founder of an app, and you're running this as you're working full time, is what I was reading. So
Yeah.
I was like, that's
Yes.
that's a crazy thing. So we'll dig into that in a little bit. But first of all, I want you to tell people what this app is all about and how it fits into the world of augmented reality these days. And I'm super excited to talk to you because I'm interested on what's really going on in general in the augmented reality scene, but also within your app. So tell me what's going on with it.
Yeah, we're super excited to bring this to the market. It's a different practical use when it comes to augmented reality. In the past, you've seen augmented reality be more about, the graphics and,
Right.
really understanding the depth and space when you have, like Pokemon Go, for example, super popular.
Right.
And but for us, the way that we see it, it's not really in the space of gaming. We see more the practical use of it.
Okay.
Think about a social media application that allows you, so the way that we originally planned this was to actually have the ability to have specific memories that you save anywhere you have them. So, like taking my daughter to the lake, but I want to remember the exact place where that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to give her guidance to retrace some of these precious memories, but then, future generations of this is being able to have a hologram that stays in that space, right? So right now we're still getting there. The first portion of that is being able to just have the picture and the exact place where it happened, because
Okay. Okay. Hold
how
on.
it might go.
Can you hold on 1 second? I want you to explain that visually, because it's hard to imagine right now what you mean when you say that. So you can take a picture of a location, and you have that location data like in your phone. You could like search your Google Photos later and say, "Hey, where's the picture of the Pacific Ocean I just took?" But you're talking about
Yeah.
something different. So like a visual indicator
Yes.
somehow. What is that visual indicator? Is it, like you said, a hologram of something? What does it look like?
Yeah, so that's the future implementation that we plan on doing. Right now, what we want to do is make sure that we start tracking, just these memories for my personal use or any other user. You can actually have what we call leaving a mark. So what we're doing is leaving this augmented mark in the world, right? This digital imprint.
Mm.
And we think that's important because of your memories, right? I don't always want to associate that with, oh, I'm saving it here in the city, right? I want to say this is the exact place where it happened, because if it's a restaurant, the restaurant might change ownership, things
Right.
might change.
Right.
But the way that memory is going to save, you want to be able to retrace those steps. Along the way, we ended up finding out that the way that we built it, it opens up this new dimension to the way that you look at, for example, casinos, stadiums. So
Okay,
we
okay,
we ended up building it.
1 second before we get there. I love this. All right. So I just want everybody to understand and visually, dig what's going on here and just kind of the technical part. So what you're doing is, if you have a interesting, location for yourself, you're on vacation or you're with your girlfriend, whatever it might be, something that's memorable, you would basically like drop a pin. If the app is on, right, you would click a little button, I would guess, and say like, save this location, this is an important location. And so when you open up your phone and go back to the location when you're there again locally, and this could be 3 years later, and you show the phone that scene, the scene can remember that you dropped a pin 3 years earlier in this exact location. And it might pop up a little graphic, a note, an avatar of some sort,
Yeah.
right, to
So
remind you what had
yeah,
happened there or whatever it might be, right?
we want to change the dynamic of how you see social media. Imagine an influencer that is known for doing food trucks, doing street tacos and things that might not specifically have a particular address, but now you're able to build this collection for like a food influencer, that his followers can now literally go to each one of these spots
Mm-hmm.
and have this collection, right? And now it's just, this collection could be, Mexican, whatever, Italian, whatever cuisine,
Right.
but now they have this guidance in the park, like theme parks. That's also another cool aspect of it. A lot of the times you have people that see these things like on TikTok, right? So we're just basing it more on the location purposes. And along the way, it's not only that, but your own personal journey. You might have this phenomenal trip that you took. Like I remember I went to Paris, and I found these Mac rooms on the way. I stumbled across it because I just got lost in the city.
Okay.
But if I want to share that, right? Because in Google you'll be able to have those memories to yourself, but there's certain things that you want to share with the public, right?
Right.
So if they follow you, they could follow this journey that you created,
Right.
and it's a whole new way to look at it. But and we're excited because it opens up an avenue that you look at how to, bring. So I'll give you an example. So we're talking right now with a sports team, and not only is being able to have guidance inside of the stadium, but imagine being able to do like a scavenger hunt, or saying that there's a new jersey that just dropped, and just having a way to engage with the user, right? So whether that's to be able to personalize it at a specific spot and location where it's not necessarily like a store that you're going
Mm-hmm.
to be able to find your seat section, to be able to know where to park around the stadium that best benefits you. We just want to do that guidance. It wasn't our intention. It's just a tool that we said, you know what, this is so cool.
Right.
We can't skip it. And the way that you're able to really personalize the experience for your guests or for your customers is just something that we're like, okay, it's such a huge benefit. I go to Vegas, you know, a lot with family, and a lot of the times you want to get around, you don't know the amenities inside of the casino. And one of the things that I'm finding as we've been doing this is that you have to download like an app to go every single place.
Mm-hmm.
But what about if there was like a uniform look to it, right? And that's kind of like the first thing that we stumbled across. But then we said the original plan when it came to augmented reality was like, augmented reality, the way that we see it, it should be a way to connect you from your digital world to your real world. I know people generally always go to your apps to escape, but I think this day and age, the one thing that's really missing is connection. You have so many people that have so many followers, right? But they feel like in the real world, they can't make those same kind of connections.
Right.
There's a missing link.
Sure.
So we said, okay, what's the next phase of what we're doing? And this is the idea originally started with this was the dating concept. And that was a big thing to come across because you're going how to attract user from user and make it in a way that it's not intrusive, make it in a way that you feel safe using it and you have all the control. And that's one of the things that was the main concerns. So the way that we have these platforms is that you could create an event, and it doesn't necessarily have to be dating. And I think that's the other cool aspect about what we're doing. Whether you're creating an event for networking that people can subscribe to, or you're creating an event at a school for a study group, or a dating event, people can subscribe to this event. And the moment that they subscribe, they'll put the category. So you could put whether or not you work in the medical field, marketing, sales. And the moment you enter this networking event, you're able to identify just by using the phone that's already in your hand. And that's the cool part. There's no additional software that's needed, no headwear. We're using the technology you already have in your hand, and you'll be able to just glimpse to your phone, and you're able to see these different, you know, fields that people work in. Imagine now, and this is the way that
let's pause here because I want people to really visualize like what's going on here, because it really kind of blew me away when I was looking at the website and got the concept. So basically, you know, that the app will have the information. You look through your phone, you show the phone to the scene that you're in, like the bar or the restaurant or the conference that you're at, and you'll start seeing little bubbles of people's heads, whatever the icon, you know, it is. Maybe it's customized icon for the conference or whatever it might be, or the dating app. And then there'll be little tags or little notes there if you click on it that like, hey, this person is an engineer, this person is a marketing person, or this person is available to date and she likes, you know, skiing or something like that. You know, you'll have that little bit of information about people, and knowing that they're since they have the app turned on, that only shows up if they have the app turned on, meaning they're open to be engaged with. This is what I think is the interesting part. The connection part that's missing is, you know, we can all find each other on all these apps or whatever, but are we really looking to engage or not or whatever? But if you're in real life and you're at this physical location and you turn the app on, that's what's interesting, right? Because now you're basically telling everyone else who's around you, hey, I'm cool. Come on and say hi, whatever.
You know, and it's so inviting. Like people travel for business all the time, and we're talking to, you know, we're in talks with some of these hotels, and we go, look, imagine you have 80 people traveling for business, right? And you're always trying to find ways to have people engage because you want them to come down. But now you do a push notification to your guests and say, hey, we're throwing a networking event, and we're doing it downstairs at 8 o'clock. And the participants show up. And now when you're going downstairs, because a lot of people want to network, right? But they're like, okay, what time do I head down? Is there going to be anybody down there? But now you get this notification and you're already there. You're already going to go down for dinner. And now you know who's a part of these events. And people are looking to make these connections. I'm going to New York next week just to join a tech event and to network. And I'm like, you know, people, like all the people that signed up for this, it's over 1,000 people that signed up.
Right. I'm
like, people are looking to do that. And I'm, you know, not necessarily travel, but like events can happen anywhere. And then you're able to see like exactly who's participating. Because when you get there and it's a big event, the thing that you worry about is like, okay, are they a part of this or not? Right. And
Or how am I going to
now,
talk to the right person? I'm here to see these types of people, but I'm surrounded
yeah,
by people that aren't part of that group. Oh, they're over there in the corner. I can see,
yeah,
Right.
and making that again, it's one thing talking to our beta users and then being able to use it myself. It's situations that you generally wouldn't approach that go, okay, the possibility here is so unique. I put an example of like, two friends having brunch. And generally, you wouldn't approach that type of scenario, right? They're having brunch,
Right.
you don't want to bother them,
Right.
right? But if you know that they're on the app and they have their status turned on, you're more likely to approach because not only are they have their status on because of the questionnaire that you guys both signed, now you know that you guys are compatible,
Right.
and that makes it. And then also for the person being approached, they know that the people that are approaching them have general common interest, and I
Sure.
think that's just another aspect of what opens up. And you look at the way that people are looking for another avenue. I'll give you two examples. One of them is called Thursdays. It's an app that just invites people on Thursdays
Mm-hmm.
for dating events where they're all single and they go to the same venue. It became extremely popular because people want to meet in person.
Right.
There's this other one that's not an app, that's just a ring, and it's called Pair. And then this ring is people, will wear it, and people know that they're single. And I think people don't want to exactly put that business out there,
Right.
right? I
Sure.
want to be able to turn on and turn off whenever I want. And the good thing of the way that we've built this is that there's discretion where I don't have to necessarily put who I'm interested in. It's either we match or we don't match.
Right.
So you don't have to put too much of your information out there. If you see that that person doesn't match, it doesn't give them any more information. And that's one of the things that was the main thing that we talked about was how can we make this a very comfortable space for people to really connect.
Mm-hmm.
And even the technology that we're using to find your friends or family at a big event. Right now you can share your location, but if you're inside of a building or you're in the middle of a crowd, and GPS is going to get you to about 40 meters
Right.
away, right, and no bounce.
Right.
So the technology that we have is the missing link. So
Sure.
now, you're at a concert, you have somebody like way in the crowd, you can actually find them all the way up to where they are. Same thing at a restaurant. So we're excited for that aspect as well. When we were building this, a lot of situations came up where we're like, man, it could have really helped somebody in time of like, an emergency,
Yeah, definitely.
right?
Yeah, I love the
Because
crowd aspect of it. Like if you're at Disneyland, and it's like where'd my kid go? He just disappeared.
yeah,
I mean, you just hold
yeah,
your phone up and scan the crowd. It's like, oh, he is. I see this little bubble bouncing around over there in the crowd.
and it's so funny. I always say like it's imperfectly perfect. I love
Right.
saying that because it's not like we didn't build it to do step by step. We built it to point you in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And there's when you're looking at a map, right? Or you like right now when I go to share my location, when you're looking at that and there's no route, it's just telling you that something is far away. Um, Trying to figure out, you need to look at your phone the whole way, right?
Right.
You have to look step by step.
Right.
And the way that we built it is just common sense. Like especially like in a big venue setting or casino setting, if you get pointed in the right direction, you don't need the step by step. You're like, I just
That's
know
right.
where I need to go.
That's right.
And it saves so much time. And to think about when you're trying to find somebody, you don't want to be step by step and they're still moving. It's going to reroute both people.
Mm-hmm.
This way, you guys are both able to just look through your screen and know the position of the other person and how far they are.
Right.
And it works like a FaceTime call. So they're not going to share that location unless they pick up.
Right.
And we love that aspect of it. So it's not like, oh, somebody's tracking me. No, you have to participate in all aspects in order for this to work.
Right.
So we're really excited about that because, I've had situations where, as a parent, right, you're trying to find your kid and trying to like go on this GPS and not knowing where they're moving, to be able to look and just see them through the crowd. Okay,
Right.
I know they're
Yeah. I see he's over
80
there.
yards
Yeah,
that way.
she's over there. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh, it's just
And
so convenient.
it makes a big difference. I actually use it for my car when it's parked all the time. So
Oh, that's
so like
another good application. I love that. Yeah, right. Instead of like
So
trying
I
to like
do,
beep your horn, but then you're not close enough for your horn to even beep sometimes.
yeah. So part of the patents that we have is kind of towards that as well. And we're super excited at the possibilities that we have just for you know, I think bridging the gap when it comes to like, businesses and consumers and having a reason. I don't follow any business, right? I would follow a person, but following a business you generally don't do.
Right.
But this way, it's just that not that we want it to be that you're following businesses, but we just want it to be that they could interact and have a useful application for it.
Mm-hmm.
Scavenger hunts within the parks,
Right.
ways to engage on things that just dropped. And so we're excited at the change of how social media is going to be looked at. Right now, we're working with a couple of influencers, and we've talked to them, and they're like, I really like the aspect of this because people that are, I'll give you an example. There's one gentleman that's known in Vegas, and he always gets asked about like, oh, you found like all these interesting spots. He goes, I get messages all the time about things and where I would recommend for people to go.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to do this on the app, it just provides a guide for people.
Right.
And if they want to follow my personal journey of what I think this city is known for, you have it there.
Right.
And it's not intrusive, right? We always tell people like be mindful of where you post and all
Sure.
that. But yeah, we're really excited at how this came about. It was a journey to get the technology there. Like
Yeah.
even creating it's funny how time works. The time of a project, right?
Mm-hmm.
Timing is always everything.
Sure.
I came up with the concept maybe about 4 years ago, but I decided to go with the patents, and then we started developing after I received the approval for the patents 2 years ago. And it was so funny because if I would have gone the other route with development right away, the technology wasn't available then. So this
I see.
project probably
Yeah.
wouldn't come to life,
Right. Right.
or would it, I would have been more hesitant, right?
Yep.
Just
Yep. Yeah, the time is right. Well, I think it just makes so much sense. And what's cool about it is it seems like what you're creating could really be just a real sort of AR platform that we haven't seen yet. That like you can lay your, if you're a business, you can lay your customization on top of it. If you're a venue owner, like a big stadium, a sports, franchise, whatever, you can lay your stuff on top of it. If you're a dating app, a third-party app, you can lay your stuff on top of it. But the core technology that allows you to, look through your phone, find locations, remember locations, do all that kind of stuff, and it's just it's a platform that's easily accessible that everyone will start to understand, like, and maybe expect even in most apps or most situations where they go. If they're going to the state fair, why doesn't the state fair have this capability for me or whatever, right?
Yeah, and it's just a platform that's easy. It's another social media platform for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's
Right.
very easy to create. When I went to give you an example, the StubHub, I had kind of like made a little sample photos of everything, made the collection.
Mm-hmm.
When I was there, I was able to finish everything within I want to say about 2 hours. And it was just walking around, pinning, still watching the game, still having fun,
Yeah.
and it's easy to use. It's very similar to all other social media apps now. It's just that the tool behind it is what really sets us apart.
That's right. Yeah.
And the main thing for us was always like, how can we just make it as easily user friendly as possible, right? That's the way I look at apps. And once you put in what you're looking for, turning on your status is just as quick. Creating an event is just as quick.
Right.
The team behind it, I was very lucky. I found a team of developers that have 40 years experience. They already worked with AR and VR, and I came to them with the idea because I don't come from this background. For me, it was just kind of the concept of it, business aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And working with them, I was very fortunate. They're very open to these ideas, and sometimes I pull them in a different direction, and they're like, oh, we're making all these last minute moves, but working with them, it's very important that you have a team that's behind you, that's open to all ideas.
Sure.
Same thing with my teams that I work with. If they have an idea on how to better make the process more efficient, I'm always open to it. And when you have a team around you that's open to these ideas, then it's not necessarily like what's not possible. You can have a team that's like, it's not possible, it's not going to happen.
Right.
And we ran into a lot of obstacles along the way. And technology the way it is now, you'll find the resources. And and it was so funny when we got stumped on being able to have status sharing between user to user.
Mm-hmm.
it was one of these days I went down the rabbit hole that I was able to get the answer for the developers. And I had just like, I'm resourceful, and
Right.
I enjoy just going down the rabbit hole on different projects. And I did it after the meeting was over, and I remember I sent the email to everybody. I go, look, I found a couple of articles. I think this will point us in the right direction. And it was just article after article.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the team members were like, "You didn't sleep at all, did you?" I said, "No." The last couple of
Right.
days.
You weren't gonna sleep
But
until you figured it out. Right. That's how it works.
yeah, and with the advancement of AI, it really opens up the right now. If you're trying to start a project, you've never had more resources available to you than any other
Oh,
time. I mean,
100%, man. It's
I've been,
incredible.
yeah, and I feel bad, like, so I had a, it's funny, Drew, I love you. So I had Drew that was helping me with the marketing,
Yeah.
and as AI started rolling out, I'm like, Drew, I have to go in a different direction. We're a
Sure.
startup,
Right.
like, and we've been self-funded, and we're barely getting, now we're barely starting to raise capital now. So it's kind of the
Sure.
backwards, right? Usually somebody raises capital at the beginning of the concept.
Right.
And well, I decided to do it a little bit different, and we've been self-sustained, and we're doing very good in that aspect. But it was funny because I was like, look, I need to use this on my PR team.
Sure.
But a lot of the stuff that I was going through, I was with the marketing team. I was kind of just able to use Chat GPT to create these
Sure.
exact ideas out,
Right.
right? And it just, you have all these resources, you got to use them. And right now,
You have
with
to.
the availability of Chat GPT, not only that, but for the developer aspect of it as well,
Of course.
you
Of
won't
course.
need as big of a team
Right. Right.
to be able to scale. And we talked about that together, and we're like, even when you're making these valuations and you're starting to put staffing in there, you can adjust because you need probably a couple of 10x developers, but you could use
That's right.
AI to really
Right.
help them and minimize
Yeah. Yeah. If you have a few
the
key
expenses.
guys, and probably makes those key guys even more valuable. It probably doesn't lower their value. It probably increases their value because
It does,
because
yeah.
you know that, like, if I get one of those great guys, heck, I can use this Chat GPT and times 10 my staff or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing times right now. It's crazy. It's kind of giving me goosebumps when I think about, like, all the stuff that's rolling out now. And you speak about that because the AR thing is, it's been talked about for a while, and like sometimes it just has that, like an iPhone moment where it's like there was a time before and then a time after. Even though you talk about it, whatever, like the right app comes out or whatever it might be. And maybe this is AR's time. And what I wanted to ask you about, since you're in the thick of building and thinking about this space, is what do you think about the Apple Vision Pro that just came out? How does that relate?
So
Does that relate or not? Is it because that's supposed to be more AR, not VR, right? Like, what do you think about
yeah,
that?
yeah. So the possibilities there, when not this generation of the Apple Vision Pro, but Apple is making different concepts for those glasses, right? Apple
Mm-hmm.
Vision Pro is going to be the most expensive one, but they do have, it's rumored that they have
Mm-hmm.
different glasses that are coming out less expensive. So you can imagine with what we're building, to be able to use the glasses in these settings for networking. What about if you have a venue that throws a lot of these different networking events and they just provide the glasses for you,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Right.
And then you think about the guidance that we're building. That's why it's all about timing. We're looking to introduce this as Apple's looking to roll out
Mm-hmm.
their Apple Vision Pros. This has been something that I had been talking about with my team since the better part of over a year and a half. I go, Apple's rumored to come out with these glasses around
Right.
this time.
Right.
And this is the time that we should really be hitting strides. Because if we're doing that, it's a natural progression to what they have an implementation of their AR.
Right.
What we're looking to do is not kind of have an open source for artists. Like if you're somebody that what I've noticed now that I've been in this AR space, we're using more AR for the practical use of it. Other people are using it more for the art behind it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they do these QR codes that make an image pop to life, and that's a new way to advertise. There's no reason we can't blend that into what we're doing in our world,
Sure.
right? But we need these people to be able to introduce this into the app, and that's not necessarily what we're building, but we want to see what the users do with it, and leaving that as an open avenue. I think that's what's exciting, because you can have somebody who's really great at making these Unity AR designs, and they just want a platform to share it on.
Right.
So
Right.
we want to be able to introduce that. We actually were working with artists. So Cody does phenomenal portraits, but he also does AR art, and we've been working with him to implement that into what we've got going on. And he'll be the first artist that we work with that does like a scavenger hunt. So create this AR art that
Right.
we pin, and when you get there, you'll be able to find the portrait that he made, and that'll be the first one that we have as part of our
I see.
our digital world we're creating. So yeah, I think the Apple Vision Pro, not this generation of it, but the future generations, it's gonna be a seamless thing. And I do see where I know right now people go, oh, it has the battery pack, it's big, but this is the
Right.
first
Yeah.
generation
Yeah.
of what they're doing.
It's for the early
Once you
adopters
see it,
that want to explore it and figure it out. Sure.
so I think the reason, you've had the Meta with their Quest,
Right.
and you've had Google Lens that came out, and a lot of people when that product came out, they were looking for a practical use. Like what
Right.
would be the practical use of this?
Right.
So I think that was what we're trying to accomplish. I think it's a great blend because the biggest thing is that if you use the glasses, I'm gonna give you an example. It's like when I first got a cell phone. I was in high school. I bought a cell phone, and nobody else had one at the time. So there's nobody to call. It was
Right.
super expensive. It was a
Right.
horrible investment. But for myself at
Yeah.
the time, right?
Right.
So
What made you buy
if
it? Why'd you buy it? Just curious.
I love technology.
Okay.
I love technology. Like
I
I've
gotcha.
always been fascinated by technology, and that's probably why I'll have the Apple. Well, I need to have the Apple Vision Pro now so we can develop.
Right.
But on it, but yeah, no, I've always been intrigued with technology. In every career move that I've had, implementation of new tech has always been something I enjoyed.
Gotcha.
So when I look at the Google Lens and I look at the Apple Vision Pro, I think that if we continue on this path and we're able to have people get introduced with AR on their regular cell phone, there's a whole new platform that opens. Because the problem is that, like for example, with the Quest Pro from Meta, it's not that it's not a great device. It's just part of the reason that people had an issue is because there's not that many users.
Yeah. Right. Network
Right?
effect. Sure. Yep.
So if we're creating this app that's available to use with the new Apple Vision Pro, and it's available to use with your cell phone, the amount of users that are going to be participating in this event make it more enticing for people to use. I think that's where
More
it kind
fun.
of
It
falls
makes more
short
sense.
a lot. So even with the Quest at the beginning of their journey in this generation of it, they're going to have to find a way to have multiple users in a space where people see the practical use of the Apple Vision Pro, right? And the next generation of it, if you have enough users on that platform and the regular mobile platform and they're integrated, then it's a natural progression for people to say, okay, I really see the practical use. There's multiple people I could, because that's one of the things that, which is reading articles, right? And they were saying that they were having a hard time having the Meta employees be a part of these. They were like saying, hey, I need you to be in this world so that people can still participate.
Sure.
And even they were like, okay, but like, what's the purpose? And people want a purpose behind everything.
Right.
You look at Roblox, people have that community, and that's I think that's a smart move that that Meta is integrating the Roblox into their platform.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing
so
that.
many
That's
users.
interesting. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. You want to go after a platform that already has multiple users that you could just seamlessly integrate with. And now I see a great purpose behind that. So I thought that was a very smart move. With the Apple Vision Pro, they most of the things that they were showing was like just one person, right? How to blend the world in. As they continue to roll out, you're going to see that they not only integrate with the first person, but now having multiple users. And that's what we're going after, is being able to have, multiple users within a vicinity, but then just try to use it as many practical ways as you can. Because if you think about something like, oh, just navigate my way through college, right? If I could use this, like with the way that we're working right now, we're doing Berkeley, we're doing just a bunch of these colleges, and it's the campaign is like help a freshman out. So
I like that. Yeah, that's cool.
So
right?
yeah, but the reason I find that so cool is that a lot of the times the schools already have like a social media platform, but to be able to have the specific spot where a student should go, or you have a
Right.
sorority that's throwing an event, or you have, some kind of things that are happening in the middle of the campus, those are the kind of things that I say, look, it's not hard to use.
Right.
Anybody could just
It's just
literally
the
go
practical use
take
case.
a,
That's what makes it amazing. You just look through your
I,
phone. Oh, the party's over there. Oh, that's where class is. I get it. Like,
yeah. So I think that's why I'm like, okay, it's so, talking to people like, why would we be on it? Right.
right,
When I first came out with the dating concept, I didn't want to stop there. And I was like, the project needs a soul. Like
right,
it needs something to identify it. And to me, I was like, we don't want to waste the opportunity. So building this, it was very important to like see like, okay, what beyond the dating platform, like why am I gonna be on there? And part of the worries is that people go, well, it's a big project, right?
yeah,
You're people usually say just stick with one niche. And this is using the same technology in different ways.
yeah.
And
It's really
the
a
moment
platform
that
you're
the moment that
creating. Yeah,
so it's a easy, progression from one to the other. And again, at the heart of what we're doing, we're looking to connect people in ways that didn't think were possible.
right,
That's
right.
the mission behind what we're doing. And in a time right now, like the Surgeon General, like 3 months ago, was talking about the loneliness epidemic, right? And
Right,
people
right.
suffering from depression and just trying to meet it. It's hard. Like that's just not here, all over the world,
Yeah,
because you always feel like you're connected on these platforms now, but outside of that, trying to make plans, trying to do it, like you're not,
yeah. But
right?
there's
You're
no
seeing everything through a
IRL
screen.
component to it. There's no IRL component to it. You're just on Facebook. You're on Twitter, whatever it is, or whatever it's called, X now. Right. But
Yeah,
there's
and
no. I mean, occasionally some real life things happen because of it. Somebody gets in your DMs or whatever it might be. But yeah, this is more like fluid. That's sort of like, hey, I'm just living my life, and this things pop up on my screen when I'm walking around, and it's cool. I can connect, and I just think it makes a lot of sense. So it's super cool. By the way, we should
yeah,
tell everybody what's it called. So it's called UON, right?
you on,
Okay. I don't think
you on,
we even
yeah.
mentioned the name. And is that I was like, I kept looking at it. I'm like, UON, UON. What does that mean? Does that mean are you on? Is that where that comes from? Okay. Hey, you on?
Yeah,
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
So,
Okay. So
so,
I'm not that
so I
slow.
was,
Okay.
I
Good.
was. No, it was so funny because at the beginning of this, one of the biggest things. So I went after the patents, the trademark, and the name, and everything right out the gate.
Right. Right.
But I really wanted you on, and the reason was, people right now when they share like, oh, can I get your Snap? Can I get your IG? I was like,
Yeah.
look, the easiest thing is going to be, are you on?
Yeah.
And what that means is, are you on to this new augmented space that we got? Like it's a new connection form.
Right. Exactly.
It's a social experiment you haven't seen before, right? We're going to
Right.
find out,
Right.
how
Yeah.
accepting people are. I think,
Right.
and I think this generation really is accepting to technology.
Yeah.
Like you see, they'll probably have a hard time talking to people, but they'll never have a hard time taking a selfie in the middle of,
That's
whatever,
right.
throwing a vlog, you know.
Right.
But I think even with this networking event that I'm going to, it's a lot of this new generation that's really looking for new ways to connect. So I think I think there's a strong case for the necessity of it, and I think people are looking for that next platform.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that UON is it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we've had this, sort of a good 10 years of now like this social media layer. Now it's like I think what's happening with X now, X Twitter, X, and things going forward, we're ready for whatever's next. We've had this thing and it was kind of cool. It's interesting. We're going through some growing pains because of it, socially or politically or whatever. But it's okay. I mean, it's just new technology, and now we're going to, take it to the next level or a different level. So I think the timing, like you said, the timing is right. So interesting listening to your story, but I want to dig into a little bit of your background now because it's even more interesting to me, and especially to people that are listening out there that are like, man, how do I deal with the world? How do I deal with the technology? I don't see myself as that technical or an engineer or an entrepreneur or whatever, but I think this is, again, part of why people listen to the podcast is this reinvention aspect of really how to be in the world going forward, and because the world's changing so quickly. But tell people what your background is and how you started out, because you didn't have any connection to being an entrepreneur or app or technology, right?
No. So I started, my career started in the automobile industry. I was a shuttle driver and, just driving people around. And
Mm-hmm.
I was really looking for I was really looking for a direction that just a purpose, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I had a buddy of mine that was working as a service advisor. They're the people that will write down what other your service needs are, and then they'll put that to the technicians. And I remember the way that he engaged with guests, and there was this couple in particular that were a little bit older. They had been married like over 50 years, and it was they both drove like Fifth Avenues, I believe, and they were like so she would drive in front of him and he would follow her, and they'll drop off a car and he'll pick her up and they'll go.
Mm-hmm.
And Corey Wong was my buddy, and he's still my friend, and he would help them all the time. And one day she comes in by herself, and she goes straight to him, and it was just very she just said, look, he left me, he passed away.
Oh,
and
no.
and he goes
Wow.
he goes she goes and she gives him a hug, and I remember he just said, look, it's okay, I'm here. That to me, I was like, if I'm gonna do anything, I love talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
I love being able to connect. I love customer service. I really enjoy just I think customer service is a lost art, and I
Right.
think when you get great customer service, you're able to build that bond in business and whatever it is. That rapport is what really counts. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, look, that's what I want to do. I just know that this is what I want to do. And I got my opportunity. I was in Huntington Beach, and I had these customers named Elizabeth and John, and they had been married for like over 45 years or so, and she needed oxygen to get around, and he was going blind. So
Oh,
like
wow.
together they got around
Yeah.
everywhere, and they had this older Odyssey. And I remember one day she comes in and she's with this younger lady, and she walks up towards me and she's like, Lewis, he left me. Same exact words.
Wow.
And
My
it
goodness.
just
Same
hit,
words. Whew.
and I'm like, wow. So the daughter was actually with her. That was the daughter.
Okay.
And she goes, you're Lewis. They used to talk about you all the time. And I was like, man, they only see me 3 times a year at most.
Yeah.
And I was a household name, like that meant
Yeah,
something
for them.
to me.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
so I always told anybody that I hired, I always tell them that story. And I go like, look, you could do something for the money, and you're never going to get the enjoyment out of it.
That's right. Yeah.
It's you have to really make the connections. And some people are going to come in upset, and some people, whatever it is, but you're the bridge. And I look at it like a game. Like, how can I maneuver their situation to the point where I ease them through the process?
Right.
And that's where I think my people skills really developed, and I was able to work through with. I started with Sonic Automotive. They're a corporate, Fortune 500 company, and I was able to move my way up the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
I became a manager, and I think that was such a cool experience. When my first time becoming a manager, and I remember that they told me like, look, this place will probably never be in the green, but if we could get it to the black, we'll be happy. Like, this is
Okay.
the goal.
Right. Right.
And they have this roadmap that they had kind of placed, and and I'll give you an example. So they would market to this area where they had like longshoremen, right?
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, we got to, they have the money, that's where you want to go. And I was like, why are you're wasting all of your marketing dollars for, these people work hard. They
Right.
have 2 dealers in between us and them. Our discounts aren't enough for them to drive this extra,
Right,
couple
yeah.
of miles.
You're not going to change their behavior
So
with a
just-
discount. Yep.
Yeah, so I said it doesn't make sense. So I changed the marketing, and then the team, I told them, I was like, look, we're gonna have an opportunity once to make an impression. So you're not allowed to talk to like other people's other dealers' customers
Mhm.
if they visited within a year, but if there's an open national recall, you could talk to anybody. So we would
Okay.
call and just introduce ourselves and say, look, you got a recall, dude. We would love to take care of you.
Mhm.
And that phone call, and like that actual live phone call, and this is a time where the email like conversion rate was like 1%.
Mm.
It had really doing like it is now.
Yeah.
You get an email, you just swipe it. I don't want to pay
Yeah.
attention to that.
Right.
So I said, look, what people want nowadays is a phone call. They want guidance, right? And we're still looking for guidance, right?
Right.
Whichever way it is, but
Right.
people like I'd rather have somebody call me and tell me, hey, you get here, ask for me, right? That's the difference.
Sure.
Because when I get there, it's just like, people get anxious, like, I don't know who to ask for, and or been there, what's the process? So when we did that, we grew in our market like 20%. when everybody else was like at 4, and then
Right,
the
right,
numbers were dwindling.
right.
So then now we're in the green, and corporate is like looking at everything that we're doing, and I'm making a name for myself. And we had just implemented this new tech. So there was a company that was called CoVideo, and they were doing videos for people that were looking to buy cars. And this video was just aimed at sales. And I said, you know what? That would be perfect for service, because we're always trying to paint a picture of what's needed on your car.
Right, sure.
So I said, look, you guys are going to get that. Just build a tool around what I'm trying to do. And I helped them build this tool. Right. So even then I'd always loved implementing technology.
Yeah. And that's probably years ago. Like, well, now it seems obvious you would do that. Right. But not back then, probably. Right.
But it's so funny because we had this corporate meeting, and I had just been there for like 3 months. The numbers were starting to turn around, and we have this conference room, and as people are talking, I sent everybody there like an email, and I send them an email too. One of them is, as we're talking, so they know like you can implement it right away. And 2, because you didn't have to, at that time, it was very important because you didn't have to download the file. It was just going to have you buffer the link.
Right.
And that was like a new way to look at it too. So they go, Louis, did you just send us all an email? I go, yeah. I go, that's how easy it is to send the customer info about what they need. And I go, we just implemented that, and that's what's been turning around. So, that place went from, 120 a month to 230 a month. And that was within the 3-year span. And then I was able to do it. I moved over to sales, but nobody moves over when you're doing so good in one area.
Right.
They generally don't move.
Yeah.
But, at this point, I just always believe in growth. And I think that's why your platform is so important, because people always want to reinvent themselves, but they're afraid. Right?
They are afraid.
At the end
this is exactly why people listen. I think this is why people listen. I know it's why I listen to other podcasts like this. Is I need to keep. It's like going to the gym. You got to work out your body, but you got to work out your mind, and you got to continue to break through your fears, keep your mind open, get the right vision, right? And you need to continually consume stuff like this and hear from people like you about your stories. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's the part that keeps me going. My wife, I was talking to her the other day, and I was beat. I do all my meetings East Coast time, and then I have my full work days, and I have a newborn, and it was the end of the day, and I'm aging horribly, by the way. Like, I can see the bags in the eyes. So we were talking about it, and she's like, you just take some days off. And I go, look, I'm not. I've always been able to push myself to the extent, right, where I know my limits.
Right.
I go, I'm not there. I'm not tired all the time. I'm just tired like at certain parts of the day. But when I have a podcast like this, where we talk about the journey, and I see the excitement of other people in the project that we're doing, or I talk to an influencer, or I have a meeting with a venue, those are the things that I go, they see a necessity for it. We're building it. We're in the right direction.
Right.
The team is excited, and they're working hard. So there's so much excitement around this project that it's only an hour or 2 in the day where I'm like, oh man, like I'm beat, like the traveling, right? The traveling gets to me every once in a while.
It's a grind, Yeah.
But I always tell people, it's like, the biggest thing for me was always like just the opportunity to be able to have the opportunity to build something special and then see it come to life. That journey to see the patents come in for the first time. I've worked with Armand, who's a great patent lawyer, and he was like, oh dude, phenomenal job getting these out, and seeing the developers talk about like, man, we haven't, they've been in the space before, but they're really impressed by how fast we're bringing the project to life and all the connections that we're making.
Right.
So those are the kind of things where I go like, I'm not going to go back to school to get a master's. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
My focus is continuing to build, and just doing it like this, right? I've always been in a corporate setting, so I know how to speak, when I had a conference room, projections and all that. So for me, it was like, okay, how can I merge the two, right? I want to still engage with the user, right? So I can just understand look at it from every aspect, right? Is this going to benefit a student? Is this going to benefit just a regular customer? How does it benefit the business? And then how does it benefit the person that's just trying to meet people? So when we're doing all this, I think that's the part that's just so exciting to me, because we're able to see the natural progression of how this idea evolved, right? All the people that are helping bring it to life. And people talk about rejection. I've been very lucky. There hasn't been like, too much pushback. People kind of see the vision, and
Right.
like everything else, you do get rejection. I think that's the part of life that's fun too,
You
right?
just got to keep.
So what did I do wrong in that meeting?
Yeah,
Too?
exactly.
But it's
just got to keep moving
but
forward somehow.
but you can't be afraid to reinvent yourself.
Right.
I think that's people. We had this meeting. Oh man, it always sticks in my head. So it wasn't supposed to be this deep of a question, but they were asking like, they're like, where do you see, like, why are you doing this, right? What's your motivation?
Right.
And everybody in the meeting was like, well, I want to be a general manager.
Right.
And it gets to me, and I'm like, I just want to see how high my ceiling is before I die.
Right.
And it's like, well, I didn't expect that to be that deep.
Right.
But it's just the reality is like, you want to be tested. Like at one point,
I think
it's going to be overwhelming. Maybe it's not. Maybe like this is the journey I'm meant to be on, and I'm gonna continue to grow. But as long as I can continue to get the opportunities, I just want to take advantage of them, right? Because I've been able to be fortunate enough to have a good career where I was able to fund this project. That was a big part of it, right? Because and things that were just very lucky around the way. I don't know if I told you, but there was so when I first got the idea of this concept, I started like writing everything down and really drawing out the picture for the patents, because that's the direction I wanted to go in. And I was invested in the stock market. I was buying option contracts, and there was one day where, and this day is when Tesla, Amazon, and Netflix just blew up.
Right.
I wake up in the morning, and it's like I'm up probably like 6K. And I told my wife, well, I mean, this continues, it'll be pretty nice day. And by the time I get ready to go to work, I'm up like 18.
Okay.
By the time the day is over, I'm up like 51.
Whoa.
So then I sell everything. Yeah. So I sell everything. And then I was getting married. I was about to get married. So I used that toward half of it towards the honeymoon.
Right.
And then half of it on this idea. And I told myself, like, look, I'm going to leave it. I know how pricey it is to start an app. I go, if I could get the rights to these concepts, I'm going to push forward. So I just kind of invested in the patents, the trademarks and everything, left it there. I shelved it. And I was actually looking to like open up a franchise restaurant.
Oh, really?
When I got the email, when I got the email from my patent lawyer saying, "Hey, we got approved for 5 out of the 20," and then after we did a open office objection, we found out it wasn't similar to the concept. So then we were able to get all 20 items on the patent list, and it was. I was like, okay, well, this is the direction I'm heading. So I talked to my wife. I go, look, we got to buckle down. It's going to be, hard and
right.
And but luckily, man, everything worked out, and it's all about timing. It's just
amazing,
like the things that fall into place and the people that you meet.
Absolutely. Well, it's been quite a journey. It sounds like already, and I can't wait to see how it plays out. What's coming next. But before we get out of here, there's always a couple questions I like to ask people that come on the podcast, and one is about technology. So we haven't quite gotten to that. Like you mentioned early on that, hey, I always like technology. I bought this cell phone early on, but how should people today, especially since you're in the mix in the middle of developing new technologies, how should they think about it? What do they do about it in their like personal lives or in their business lives? Like, how do you think about it on a daily basis? What do you do to stay open to engaging and figuring out how to use it to a benefit for you versus being anxiety ridden and like, oh my God, software's eating the universe.
Yeah, I think that's the scary thing when you think about tech, right? Some people are just like, the fear, is it going to take my job? Right. With the whole new AI. So look at it the way that I guess I did. Instead of fearing whether or not I was going to take my job, it was, let me start by testing the waters of the capabilities of everything that I could understand with AI. And doing so, it allowed me to save money, but then it allowed me to personalize the things that I wanted to do. So then you look at it, I know students are using it for homework and so forth, but when you have these emails that have to go out and you have suggestions on what would be better, if you're starting a business and you want to get like a market analysis, I know that right now with ChatGPT, they took off the web feature, but Bard has it. So a lot of the times when I'm trying to explain the opportunity size for this type of project, or just things that I want to find out with the current market, I just do like an analysis on the AI. So when you're looking at technology that's coming out, the people that don't embrace it, it's just like businesses that don't embrace it, right?
Right.
Circuit City, right? Redbox, like things are going to change.
Right.
And regardless of what we do, things are always going to change around us.
Always. Yeah.
But if you stay stagnant, then you're not going to understand why the opportunity passed you by. So if I think one of the things that, and I'm sorry to go off track, but when COVID happened, you saw a lot of people start their own business,
Right.
a lot of entrepreneurship, and people realized that you didn't need to necessarily. And I think even right now, that's why you saw that the job market is the way it is, trying to find people, because people were able to realize that, one, they didn't need to have every person in the household working. There was other avenues to make money. Remote working is a possibility.
Right.
So that's people embracing technology, finding out. Like, I think TikTok is great for that. I don't know how many times I've watched a video just right now with networking. Right, there's people that I follow on TikTok that talk about their journey as an entrepreneur, obstacles that they've had,
Right.
and I go, oh, okay, things that I could avoid, right? And
Sure.
and or when they're, just how to approach, how to get investors, how to find the right networking, how to for example, I know that one of the things that they were talking about was the business aspect of it, and I see the way that people are so open to share their journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that information, when you're starting out a business, is so important. So, like, people that don't go on TikTok, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to watch people dancing, right? That's
Right.
the whole concept of how it started.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
when you start looking at these videos, it's not just people dancing. It's the way how to cook something, how to.
Right.
It's just a whole new avenue of how to find the best deals, how to explore different places. That's the way that I look at it. Like, you're gonna miss it by your perception of it, because once you start digging into what this really is, you realize that this generation is very open to sharing their progress and journey. Some
Right.
things you relate to, some things you don't.
Sure.
Like, I know that there was some people that were like, I'm done with these investors. It's like, look, you can't be. They're just seeing rejection for the first time.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
I've seen rejection many times,
Yeah. For
and
the first.
and
Exactly.
it just, so I think technology, when you look at that aspect of it, is you're going to miss the boat if you're not open to it, because
Yeah.
technology is what's going to continue to drive us to a better future, and it's going to take people looking at the bad sides of it to be able to put regulations when they need to, right?
Sure.
Like with
Yeah.
AI, they
course,
talked
yeah.
a lot about
Right.
that. And but if you're looking, if you ever had a question or wanted to start a book, like, what better time than now,
Oh
where
my
you
gosh.
could
It's
have
amazing.
it guide you all the way across.
Right.
My wife had been talking about making this book for a long time, and she just didn't know where to start. I did it for her, and I say, look here, start using this as a
Right.
plan.
Right.
So, but those are the things I'm like, look, all the answers are available to you right now. People are just afraid.
Yeah.
Look, I know that when ChatGPT came out, I was a little hesitant, right? Because
Right.
I'm like, I don't know, but the reality is it's just another tool, and it's going to continue to get better. So many plugins, like, just you could use it to find a better deal on your flights, which I
Right.
just did
Right.
not
Oh
too
yeah.
long
Of
ago.
course. Yeah. Yeah. I need to explore it
People are
more. I've
using it.
just messed around with it just casually a few times, but it's pretty powerful. It's coming. It's going to be part of every piece of software that you open. When you open up Microsoft Word, there's going to be an AI tool within it, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just going
Yeah,
to
and
be
we're
everywhere.
looking to implement it. Yeah, we're looking to implement it more when it comes to like imagery,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's one of
Exactly.
the things that we wanna use. But it's just the avenue is it's helping so many different ways right now. Just with medical science, I know they've made some great
Right. Right.
great advancements because of this. So yeah, man, I'm all for it. I always tell people, like, you can't be left behind just because of the fear of anything. Not when you're trying to start a new venture.
Right.
Or you're
Right.
going to bet on something, bet on yourself, make educated
Right.
moves, and yeah, you'll be fine.
Exactly. Well, okay, that's great because that's exactly how I feel about it, but I still run into people all the time, especially even my peers, that are just, they really feel overwhelmed and just worried about what's going to happen, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you just got to start using this stuff, taste it a little bit, and you'll figure out it's not as scary as you might think. But anyways, I got one final question for you, and that is, I call it a reinvention revelation. So, like, through your latest reinvention of starting this app, coming into the technology universe, even though you started out and you're really customer service oriented and service oriented, really interested in people and connections. What's a reinvention revolution? What did I call it? Reinvention revelation that you could share with people about what you've discovered about yourself or maybe about business, in the last year or two.
The validation behind it. When I felt like my whole career has groomed me to what we're doing now, to be able to be as resourceful, to never accept a no, to know that there's always a way to find a way around it, that the obstacles are not as bad as you may think or make them out to be. One of the things that I'll leave this with one of the things that my clients told me, and it was one of the best pieces of advice, because I think this is what really hinders people and the way that they look at life nowadays. I was stressing. I had just become a manager and we're short staffed, and I was like, you could tell the stress on my face. And she goes, Louis, you're stressed, aren't you? I go, a little bit. She goes, look, let me ask you something. How many people do you think that I manage? And I was like, 80, 120. She goes, I manage 1,300. She goes, I'm going to give you the best piece of advice. She goes, we're starting right now until the end of the week. Every time you have an obstacle, you're worried about something, write it down and put it on a piece of paper and then put it in a box. Put it in your pocket, then take it home, put it in a box. And then on Sunday, I don't care, whatever you want to drink, whiskey, lemonade, water, sit down by yourself and start reading those to yourself. You'll realize that half of those you couldn't do anything about, and the other half took care of themselves. And the reality is that it's true. When I sat down, half of those things, I was never going to be able to change the outcome.
Right.
And the other half just took care of themselves. Because a lot of the times, the things that we worry about the most are really not obstacles. They're just things that we make out to be this huge mountain to climb, but they're not.
Sure, yeah.
When I talked to my developers, and I was talking to them about, some of the ambitions that I had for bringing stuff out, they were, mortified. They're like, Louis, it's a
right.
big ass.
Sure.
We're running behind. I go, look, just continue to climb. Once you're climbing, once we're a month into this, and after the progress you made, and I want you to look back and tell me how high the rest of the climb is. But just keep climbing. Because a lot of the times when you're so worried that you're not going to meet these marks and everything, you're going to reach it, and everything happens when it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And the pressure that we're putting on is the pressure I'm putting on myself. There's nobody putting pressure on me to bring this out at a certain time. I just don't want to miss the opportunity. I just know that we're bringing something useful out. So yeah, I think that, you have to really analyze the world for what it is. And a lot of people sometimes are so scared. Like I have people that ask me all the time, like, how are you so motivated? I don't know how you wake up. I go, nobody wakes up going 100 miles per hour. It's a choice,
It is.
And
it
like
is.
people,
It really is.
I think the perception is that people think that there's some secret sauce, right? That people wake up and they just have something that other people don't have. And I go, we all wake up the same. I had my little brother who once told me that. He's like, Louis, I wake up and I don't feel motivated. I go, that's the secret. Nobody does. Like you find a reason every day.
Yeah, exactly.
And then once you find a reason, things happen. But no, it's okay to not feel motivated. It's okay to not feel energized or not know the direction. We all wake up the same way, and we just find our path as the day goes on.
Exactly. Wow. Okay. Well, great advice and just great insight into doing what you're doing. It's incredible. So thanks, Louis. Thanks for being on the show. If people want to learn more about the UON app or follow you or be interested or maybe someday be an investor, because I know you're going to start raising money. Who knows, Yeah. Where will they go? Yeah. How should people get in touch with you?
So our app is actually on the App Store now. We're still actually fixing little things. Our public launch we're aimed for the 14th. That's going to be our public launch. Right now,
14th
it's available on the App Store.
Of August 14th, 2023. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we're just getting the minor little bugs out, but we're happy to be on the App Store already, and we got most of the platform already ready for people. But again, we're just always trying to add new little finishing touches to it. UONapp.com is our website.
Okay.
And you could,
And is that
send me
for
an email there.
iPhone and Android, both, either one?
Yeah, so we're not on the Google Play Store yet, but it's been
Okay.
developed, and now we're just waiting for approvals.
I see. Okay.
So
I
on
gotcha.
the App Store, and it will be on the Google Play Store as soon as we're approved and ready to
Okay.
go.
I got you. Awesome. All right. So uonapp.com, right? UON.
And then just UON on the App Store, and you'll find us there.
Okay. Louis, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Jim, it was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to JimJim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more, join our mailing list at JimJim's.ReinventionRevolution.com. See you next time, and remember, the revolution has just begun. So dig in, embrace the process of reinvention, and start realizing the success you've always dreamed of. Hey, revolutionaries, if you enjoyed today's episode and today's guest, let them know by commenting on their Facebook page, finding their Twitter handle or Instagram feed, and letting them know you heard them on JimJim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, and tell them what you got out of the episode, what you really liked, or how they inspired you. I know they would get a kick out of it, and will help others find the same value that you found.